Good morning. I'm going to pop up before Nora here introduces me, and I'm going to remain a mystery person because she hasn't introduced me yet. But I'm going to take a moment of preacher's prerogative to say what a joyous problem it is to have so few seats left. So if you are seated toward an aisle, just squeeze toward the middle of the pew you're in. And I bet we can get another 10 or 12 seats. Scooch toward the middle, away from the aisle. And I bet we can make a little bit more room because people are still coming in. It's a joy to be together, so you can be 10% more together. Or 15% or 20%. Great. I'm sorry to jump ahead of you there, Nora, but now we've got some extra seats.
This morning we are delighted to welcome back to our congregation our guest preacher, Benjamin Van Dyne, who is a PhD candidate in theology at Fordham University, where his work focuses on the interconnection between evolving concepts of race, personhood, and death. He also teaches undergraduate classes in religion and theology and serves on the coordinating committee for the labor union of Fordham's graduate workers. He grew up in the Unitarian Universalist Church in Arlington, Virginia, and remains connected with local church communities. He lives in the Bronx with his two children who are here this morning. Let us welcome Benjamin Van Dyne.
Well, good morning, officially now. Our words of invocation are words of Richard Gilbert's. We bid you welcome, who come with weary spirits seeking rest, who come with troubles that are too much, who come hurt and afraid. We bid you welcome, who come with hope in your heart, with anticipation in your step, who come proud and joyous. We bid you welcome, who are seekers of a new faith, who come to probe and explore, who come to learn. We bid you welcome, who enter this hall as a homecoming, who have found here room for your spirit, who find in this people a family. Whoever you are, whatever you are, wherever you are on your journey, we bid you welcome. And so we can welcome the people who aren't even in this building. We're going to ring the bell. So, kids, if you want to come up, and I'm not sure who's the grown-up for the bell ringing today. Do we have a grown-up for the bell ringing today? All right, Chris is our adult. We're going to ring it 8 times for each of these Unitarian Universalist principles. All right, so we're gonna count on our fingers and make sure that it's really 8 ish.
Chalice lighting words this morning are from Reinhold Niebuhr. Nothing worth doing is completed in our lifetimes. Therefore, we are saved by hope. Nothing true or beautiful or good makes complete sense in any immediate context of history. Therefore, we are saved by faith. Nothing we do, however virtuous, can be accomplished alone. Therefore, we are saved by love. No virtuous act is quite as virtuous from the standpoint of our friend or foe as from our own. Therefore, we are saved by the final form of love, which is forgiveness. Now, please join me in our unison affirmation. The words are in your order of service. Inspired by love, our mission is to seek our true nature, connect deeply and openly, and act for justice.
Well, before the children get settled in, it is time again. I know you just got settled in, but to come on up, all of the children, youth, babies, people deceiving themselves about their age, feel free to come on up here to the front. Deceiving yourselves about your age in either direction, I should say. No ageism here, just, I mean, you can have a seat. If you fit.
Yeah, your seat's over here.
Yeah. This is another place where it's good to have this problem here.
Yeah.
This is my bag. I'll move it. There you go. Perfect. Okay. So, I don't know if all of you guys know, these are my kids. This is Oscar, who for some reason has the sole miniatureships out. And this is Oscar, this is Simon. And me and Oscar and Simon did something recently that we are very excited about, which is that we got a pet. And we thought for a long time about what sort of pet we should get. And the very first proposal, do you remember what you first suggested, Simon? What was your first suggestion? It was a tarantula. Okay. Tarantulas, look, okay, so I admit I vetoed tarantula. I said no to tarantula. And why do you think, as a lover of tarantulas, why do you think I said no to a tarantula? So when I was, you studied tarantulas. So I did some research too. And do any of the adults have a guess why I didn't want a tarantula?
You can't cuddle them.
You can't cuddle them? That's a good guess, but that's not why.
They could get out of the frame.
I count myself as an adult when I say this.
Okay.
If I wanted a tarantula, if I did get a tarantula, I've never tried a roasted tarantula before, so I probably want to eat it.
Okay, so curiosity about the taste is not what was going on here. Yeah, do you guess why I did the tarantula? Afraid of spiders. That's what I thought everyone was going to guess, but that is not why.
It is true though, some people in the world people eat roasted tarantulas. It's disgusting.
Yeah, no, I'm sure people eat them. That's just not what I was worried. No, the reason that I didn't want a tarantula, and now I'm hearing maybe I was wrong, but they're not poisonous usually, is that they live for 30 years. And I was picturing me in my 70s with this tarantula. And so you know what we got instead? Just yesterday,
A hamster.
we got a hamster named Jill. And if this is just for the kids, you want to see a video of this is Jill. You want to see? That's Jill. Running in her wheel. And the thing is, hamsters live, I have read, for between 2.5 and 3 years. But sometimes they unfortunately die even faster than that. And do you know why they sometimes die faster than that? What's the leading early cause of death for hamsters? Is this what?
Getting dropped.
Children. More specifically, they get sat on. Yeah. Just real talk here in church, guys. Kids and adults sometimes accidentally sit on hamsters. That's why you put your hamster in a cage. And as you can see from the video, hamsters love playing games, and I also love playing games. We'll come back to the hamster in a minute, but I've got here a game for us to play. There are just 2 cards here.
Are you a
A 10 and a queen. I'm not a magician. Don't worry, there's not a magic trick. And this is a very simple game. This is a very simple game. In this game, one of you will shuffle up these 2 cards and hold it so I can't see it. And I'm going to guess which one is which. Not my kids. All right. You want to go first? All right. So the people around you, they're going to make sure you're telling the truth about whether I guessed correctly. Okay? So shuffle them up. Tell me when you're ready. Okay. I think that this one is the queen. Yes! Okay. Who wants to go next? All right, ready to go next? Okay. Shuffle them up. Ready? I think that this one is the queen. All right, now okay, so you're saying no. Hold on.
You expect me to swap it, but so then you're thinking, oh, I would have wanted to the other one?
I'm not that strategic, honestly. So this game really relies, right, on you all telling the truth. Also a little bit of trickery, but at my point, you could just like lie to me if I get it right?
That's not cool.
Why isn't that cool?
Because that's like cheating.
That's cheating. You gotta tell the truth, right? Are there some other? All right. Are you all truth tellers? You can tell the truth if we do this? All right. Can the 3 of you be a team? Can you decide together what your strategy is going to be? Okay. All right, tell me when you're ready.
Ready.
Okay. So, before we go on, I need a promise that you guys are going to tell me the truth about which card is which.
Yes.
Yes, promise? Will you guys be honest with me whether they're telling the truth? Okay. I think that the queen is this one. Okay. So this is a game where, like, you guys have figured out that it's really important to tell the truth when you're playing a game like this, right? Yeah. Let me get you in a second. So, what if I told you, I change the rules a little bit, that if I win the game, if I correctly guess which card is which, I'm going to sit on Jill. I'm not going to sit on Jill in real life. But if I said that, would you still tell me the truth about which card is which?
I mean, no.
No?
Yes. No.
Yes? Well, okay, you said, who said yes? You said yes. Why did you say yes?
That's just because it's not your
Hold on. What? Why did you say yes?
Because everybody else said no.
Ah, okay. That's relatable.
No, because we do not want Jill to get squished.
You don't want Jill to get squished. Yeah, what do you say?
No, because it's just a game, and if we told the truth, that would be taking a creature's life.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
no, it's like you don't want to sacrifice some innocent creatures like just because of a little game. Like that's horrible.
But hold on. I hear you, and I want to be really clear. I'm not sitting on Jill. But I thought it was really important to tell the truth.
It was. It was until this moment.
It was until this moment. So what's different about this moment?
And you were about to kill a poor little innocent hamster.
Thank you for demonstrating. Yeah, it does feel like, yeah.
If you guessed right, this is what would happen to Jill.
Thank you for the demonstration. It does seem like sometimes there are things more important than just a game. Okay? It really matters what's at stake. It really matters what's actually going on, whether somebody's going to get hurt or not.
I mean, your butt is definitely going to hurt after sitting.
That is true, and that's another reason I will not be sitting on Jill. That's for sure true. But it does seem like we always have to think through whether somebody's going to get hurt. Does that seem right? What's that face you're making?
I don't want to hamster to get hit face.
Okay, yeah, I agree. So can we all make a commitment as we're about to send you guys out of the room that we want to make sure that we're always playing the game according to the rules, but that we always make sure that the most important thing is making sure that no hamsters and no people get hurt. Nothing gets hurt? Not the earth, not the trees, not anything. That's a good deal. Can we agree on that? Fair deal? Do we have a deal? Okay, raise your hand if we got a deal. Raise your hand if we got a deal. All right, let's sing. Simon, what do you need?
Now we'd like to welcome Heather Hewitt, who is going to be the voice of the committee, the Inclusivity Task Force. Come on up, Heather.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So I just wanted to say a couple of quick words about Beyond the Binary. My name is Heather Hewitt again. My pronouns are she, her. So in 2 weeks, we are hosting, along with the Community Unitarian Universalist Congregation at White Plains, an event called Building Beloved Community Beyond the Binary. And so Terry mentioned it in her announcements. Thank you so much. I just wanted to say 3 quick things about it. So the first thing is that in the newsletter, there is a registration link, and there is also a link if you'd like to volunteer. The second is that this is a great opportunity to learn, but really and truly, it's also an opportunity to be in community. So it is called Building Beloved Community, and we're really hoping that folks will come out and be together, maybe meet some new people, learn something in the process, for as long as you can be here. You don't have to commit to the entire day. And the second thing I wanted to mention is that if you are a volunteer, it doesn't mean that you can't participate. I mean, there are things that we need help with. We're going to need some greeting. We're going to need some help with registration tables and the like. But if you're volunteering, we also want you to participate. So there's going to be plenty of opportunity to attend the sessions and to meet new people as well as do a task. So I hope I see everybody in 2 weeks. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Heather. We come together in community to share with one another, to support one another, and to celebrate with one another. We bear sacred witness to each other in this honored ritual. As we begin, we know there are both great sorrows and great joys in this world that must be acknowledged as well. We light our first candle to honor those in pain. Victims of violence and war and oppression all around our world. We light a second candle because we understand that amidst all of that pain, there is also celebration and joy in our world. We honor that joy and sorrow are woven together. For some of us here today, this has been a week of life-changing joy that needs to be lifted up in this worship. For others, this has been a time of deep pain and sorrow that needs to be shared to make the burden lighter. If this has been such a time for you, I invite you to come forward there to light a candle and to briefly tell us of your joy or your sorrow. You may also raise your hand in silent acknowledgement of your joys and sorrows, and we will light a candle for you.
Hi, everyone. It's Christine Clayton, and is it on? Okay. Can you hear me? Yeah? Okay. It's Christine Clayton, and I just wanted to come up here and celebrate. Matt and I wanted to celebrate our co-chairs, Yaya and Megan, who we just had a real blast with the last couple months, actually, in co-chairing the pledge. We wanted to thank all of you. We had 45 pledges come in, 30 from members and 15 friends who pledged $170,092, which was a really amazing amount, about 7% over last year's pledge when it officially ended. But more usually comes in, and so we're really counting on all you latecomers, because we've been there too, life is busy, to turn in your cards and to continue to build on this year's success so we can do some great work in the world. So we'll be giving you guys a friendly call the next 2 weeks to remind you. Thank you so much.
Good morning, Betsy Cates. Okay, so I wasn't here last week because I went to Texas. My niece, Sarah, was married in April 2020, so they had to cancel the wedding. So they planned a wedding, a 5th anniversary celebration last Sunday. So, never having been to Texas before, off we went, but here's what happened. A few days before the wedding, my brother, her dad, and his wife were very ill. My sister-in-law got better. My brother got worse. He was hospitalized altogether for 10 days. Neither of them made it to the party, and this is my sister-in-law's only child. So they did not go. 2 days before the wedding, my niece was diagnosed with strep throat, but she got better in time for the party. It was about 33 degrees in Texas, and the wind was blowing really hard, so no one was able to play outdoors. The best friend of my niece was trying to board a plane in Atlanta to get out to the wedding, and because she had a stroller, they had her checking in elsewhere, and she missed the flight and also did not make it to the party. However, my niece was in great spirits. She was a trooper. I danced more this past weekend, than I have in months. I went two-stepping on Saturday night and danced for hours at the wedding, and my favorite and best dance partner was the niece's grandfather, 92, and he comes from an era when people could really, really dance and make their partner look like an amazing dancer. So, and I got to meet my great-nephew for the very first time and had a lot of fun with him. So it was like this. It's so good to be home.
Hi, I'm Susie Dugas, and yesterday, while I was looking around the internet, I saw that Obama had given a talk this week up in Hamilton College. So I listened to it, and I still feel so much better. Hearing that voice and somebody sane and thoughtful and brilliant and kind, and it just gave me hope. And his voice is just very helpful.
we light one final candle. For all those joys and sorrows that remain unexpressed, and for those outside of our walls who are searching for a place to bring the wholeness of their lives and be received with love.
I invite you to assume a mental and spiritual and physical posture for meditation and for prayer, to settle into your seat, enough that you're relaxed, but not so much that we start to hear snoring. Feet on the ground, eyes closed if you'd like. Take a couple of breaths. We'll start with some words from Audre Lorde, and then a few moments of silence, and then some music. For those of us who live at the shoreline, standing upon the constant edges of decision, crucial and alone. For those of us who cannot indulge the passing dreams of choice. For those of us who are imprinted with fear like a faint line in the center of our foreheads, learning to be afraid with our mother's milk. For by this weapon, this illusion of some safety to be found, the heavy-footed hope to silence us. For all of us, this instant and this triumph, we were never meant to survive. And when the sun rises, we are afraid it might not remain. When the sun sets, we are afraid it might not rise in the morning. And when we speak, we are afraid our words will not be heard nor welcomed. But when we are silent, we are still afraid. So it is better to speak remembering we were never meant to survive. Well, good morning again. One of the wonderful things about silence is that it's never really silent. I remember when I was in a choir in high school, the very first thing the choir had us do was to spend 20 minutes just listening to the room. And you'd be amazed how much goes on when you're quiet for 20 minutes. So I love hearing the noises of the road and the room and of children and of adults breathing. This isn't related to the sermon, I just love it. It's good to see and hear all of you this morning. When I first got involved in 2014 in Black Lives Matter protests, this was I think about a year before I first preached here with you all. And I learned there a chant that originates from words of Assata Shakur. We have a duty to fight for our freedom. We have a duty to win. We must love and support one another. We have nothing to lose but our chains. Now, Assata Shakur herself is quite the figure. She left the Black Panther Party over, among other things, its retrograde gender politics. She joined and is alleged eventually to have led an organization of black freedom fighters who advocated revolutionary violence in the United States and who specifically targeted police. She was imprisoned for her alleged role in a shootout with New Jersey state troopers in the early 70s. She escaped federal prison and has been living in exile in Cuba ever since. There is a lot going on in this little chant of hers. We could exegete it like a Bible verse. The relationship between freedom and victory, between victory and love and support for one another. The brief invocation of nothing to lose but our chains, which connects her own black freedom struggle to Marxism, since that phrase, nothing to lose but our chains, has its origins in Karl Marx's Communist Manifesto. But the part that most struck me back in 2014 was the second sentence. We have a duty to win. Now, don't get me wrong, I like winning in low-stakes contexts, like when I successfully identified which card was the queen, or when I kicked Simon's butt at Monopoly. The trick is to take a highly leveraged position really early in the game. 9-year-olds don't understand mortgages like we do. But I also like winning in higher stakes contexts, like when my labor union won recognition and then later a good first contract. I like it when my person wins an election. Still, that word duty brought me up short. Surely, I thought, what matters is that I do my best and behave with integrity, and it's nice to win, but it's not whether you win or lose. In the end, it is, of course, how you play the game. To which there is an obvious retort, and it's the one that this entire row of children gave when I said I might sit on Jill. Because if you're threatening to sit on a hamster, it's all of a sudden no longer just a game. Winning or losing at Monopoly or a card trick is basically all the same, win or lose. But a freedom struggle or a hamster is in a different category. There is something at stake. Still, it does seem stronger, this word duty. It seems stronger than just saying that it's important or that the stakes are high. To frame it as a duty is so categorical, so final. Something redolent of Kant or Robert E. Lee or a drill sergeant or like Jean-Luc Picard. Something important could be overtaken by something more important. Something with high stakes could be outweighed by something with even higher stakes. But a duty you have to complete no matter what. Duty is a word that seems more appropriate for a German, like Dietrich Bonhoeffer. somebody very different from Asada Shakur. Bonhoeffer was a German Lutheran theologian who wrote and pastored in 1930s Germany, spent a couple of years in New York and Harlem, and eventually got wrapped up in a failed plot to assassinate Adolf Hitler. In the end, he was executed by the Nazis, hanged in the final days of the war. But part of why it was only in the final days that he was hung is that for a long time he was more or less accommodated to the Nazi regime. They were not, as you may know, primarily coming after Lutherans. He wasn't a fan of the regime. He had his problems, but he was not so actively fighting it, except for the very end, that he came to be an early target. Now, the German Protestant piety that undergirded Bonhoeffer's decisions does not have a lot outwardly in common with the black Marxist revolutionary orientation of Asada Shakur. But Bonhoeffer also wrestles with what must be done. He wrestles in his writings with whether to join the conspiracy to kill Hitler. Murder, he reasoned, is wrong, even the murder of a tyrant, prohibited by the commandments that Bonhoeffer's God had given him. And when he did finally join the conspiracy, it was not because he managed to find an exception, a footnote by which it was okay to kill someone. He did not study the Hebrew of the Ten Commandments and discover an asterisk. It wasn't even that he weighed various alternatives. It's that he did it knowing murder was wrong, but seeing no alternatives, he threw himself on God's mercy. Now, Lutherans are obsessed with God's mercy, and in particular with the fact that it is not possible to earn it. All human works come under God's judgment because they are all wrapped up in the unfortunate trade-offs and bad choices of an imperfect world. They are all done in the context of not knowing the future, of knowing only some of the past. Now, certainly bad works, evil deeds coming under judgment, that makes a certain kind of sense. But so too do good deeds, because they cannot really be innocent. And I think there is something true in this. Whether you're rigid about sin or not, the worst things always come from people thinking they are doing good. And whether you agree or disagree with that, that is the logic of it. That is why God sends Lutherans a savior and not an ethics textbook. Bonhoeffer reasoned that at some point in the moment of crisis, with so many dead and dying and under threat, there is something sort of selfish about prioritizing one's own moral purity above what is required. And though the stakes were very different, these two rows of children understood that very clearly. That when it was just winning or losing a game, telling the truth was important. But what mattered more was saving Jill. And if God should ever judge the lie, well, then I guess we just throw ourselves on God's mercy. Because saving a hamster, a person, a community, just matters more. And so there is something remarkably similar about the tone of of Shakur when she invokes that phrase of Marx's, and Bonhoeffer's abandonment of his own moral purity and throwing himself on the mercy of God. Nothing to lose but our chains. Nothing to lose. May as well try. For Bonhoeffer, it's that his own moral purity really was nothing. For Bonhoeffer, it was that without God's mercy, human beings are condemned to perdition and death anyway, so we may as well do what we think necessary. Whatever the risk to our own sense of ourselves as people who do the right thing. For Shakur, it's that the world's oppressed people are amidst death and hell already. And so all there is to do is what you think is required. And what you are at the mercy of is time and history. Nothing to lose and a duty to win. I think at this point it's worth asking, how is that different from those we oppose? Bonhoeffer sought to kill Hitler, and Hitler certainly did a lot of killing too. How is this different from those who imagine politics as simply the art of masculine swagger, of deporting or imprisoning enemies? Are they not obsessed with winning too? And indeed they are. But there are two things I think we should keep in mind. First, it does matter what you're fighting for. A world where trans people, kids and adults, are safe and cared for is quite simply better. It is a better end than the other alternatives. A world where everybody has enough to live on is quite simply better than a world, this world, the one where we have now, where they don't. A world in which all people can live their lives in peace and dignity and community, and where no one can get renditioned to a black box prison in their own country or in another, is quite simply a better world than this one. And does the other side think their idea of what to do is better? Of course they do. But you know what? They're just wrong. Leave aside whether you agree with the specific tactics of strategy of Assata Shakur, a believer in and practitioner of revolutionary violence on behalf of Black liberation. Leave aside whether you agree. Do we really think it's the same as white supremacist violence? Or do we think that it matters? That she envisions a world of racial justice, sex equality, and material abundance for the oppressed, and that the other side doesn't? When Assata Shakur says we have a duty to win, she says it right after saying we have a duty to fight for our freedom. It's not the winning that is good. It's that this particular fight, this set of things to win, is so high stakes that it has to be won. We have a duty to fight for our freedom. We have a duty to win. This is the second thing. Maybe the duty to win implies a kind of cold pragmatism. But what's pragmatic depends on what you are trying to do. My formative years politically were the late Clinton presidency, when third-way democratic politics meant winning elections by preemptively conceding that unions are bad, markets will solve everything, a lot of black people probably are welfare cheats, and gay people should just slow that down. And this was pragmatic if your purpose was winning elections, which for a while they really did. But if your purpose was a stronger labor movement, conceding that unions are bad wasn't pragmatic. If your purpose was to guard the parts of human experience that are not and shouldn't be for sale, it wasn't pragmatic to concede that markets will solve everything. If your purpose is to offer material support to everybody, then abandoning them to poverty isn't pragmatic. And if your purpose is gay liberation, then making the ickiness of gay people your starting point is a hell of a weird place to start. This is what matters about the relationship between means and ends. Not our inner feeling of being right or some abstract morality, but whether the means we choose really do serve the ends we want. If we choose a method of dialogue and engagement with opponents or enemies, if we choose a pathway of defeating them, if we choose, as Shakur did, even a path of violence, the question is whether that will achieve the ends that we want. What's pragmatic depends on what you are trying to do. And if what you are trying to do is stay better than everyone else, to guard your moral purity, then that will give you one set of things you do. But I tend to worry the same way that Bonhoeffer does. There are other things that matter more. None of this presents an absolutely reliable set of steps for what must be done. It doesn't save us the trouble of arguing and discerning together what must be done. But I do believe that this world of care, this world of abundance and freedom, is one we have a duty to win. And when Shakur follows up that statement, we have a duty to win, with the injunction that we must love and support one another, I think it is a statement not about how it's also important to be nice, but a statement about what is pragmatic given the aims that we share. Given the duty to win, that is how we proceed. We must love and support one another. That is how we fight. It is what we fight for. Because what we are fighting for is not a set of abstract values, nor just people far from home. It is people in this community, under this roof, who are under threat. And that there are threats both far and near is not exactly good news, but it is a reminder of something that is. That we are in it together. Together we will win. And that being together, truly together, is the thing we must win. Every strategy, every tactic, every word we say, every note we sing, everything that we do follows from that. We have nothing to lose but our chains.
Now, please join me in extinguishing the chalice. The words are in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of command. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Well, I have been coming to see you all a long time here in this congregation. And something that really struck me during Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing is how much louder you all are now. And I think in part it is because there are more of you than there were. But I think it's also because Twice the number of people sing more than twice as loud. We are all bolder in numbers. So I invite you to shout each line as you repeat after me the chant of our benediction. We have a duty to fight for our freedom.
We have a duty to fight for our freedom.
We have a duty to win.
We have a duty to win.
We must love and support one another.
We must love and support one another.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
Go in peace.
Just to mention before we leave, a year ago today is when Reverend Daniel's son JJ was born. I have a card for people to sign in the coffee hour. So if you would like to sign it, I will have a card for it. We'll give it to Reverend Daniel next week.
Welcome to sing along if you know the word.